the long and short of it is that you could probably beat him in a beer mile.
Yes, I should be doing a beer mile. As soon as I get semi-fit, we were like, we just need to do a time trial. Maybe the first one is a beer mile. If I can't run as fast as I need to do like, compete at the world stage, I'll just do it in the beer mile. And
yeah.
There we go.
So the spicy question is, what the hell happened at the Big Bear Track Club?
Oh, man.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Beer Mile podcast. Today we have a very special guest. We talked to Stephanie Purple Brown. She's very candid about the ups and downs of her career, transitioning from her collegiate days to now unsponsored pro running. We talk about her recovery from back surgery and everything that goes along with it.
Yeah, it was a great conversation. Steph is very open and transparent about all aspects of her life and her running career. She gets into details about running professionally, both with a sponsorship and without a sponsorship. She also talks about overcoming injuries, training during COVID and recovering from COVID herself. And then also we get into some details on her time with the Big Bear Track Club, and she gets a little bit into body image and how that plays a role in the sport of running and her goals for this upcoming season. Before we get into the interview with Stephanie, we'll quickly review the beer of the week. This week we are drinking Maui Brewing Company Coconut Hiwa Porter. I guess I should have looked up how to say that ahead of time, but hey, we're doing it live. So porter with a little bit of coconut flavor in it, and my initial thoughts, tastes pretty damn good.
A robust dark ale with hand-toasted coconut and hints of mocha. It kind of tastes like a really nice cappuccino that was apparently alcoholic.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. It's definitely a heavier beer, not something you would drink multiple of, but it's a great kind of colder weather, full-time winter beer.
It's a good Thanksgiving or Christmas beer.
Exactly. Very filling too. It just, you have one of these, it's almost like a meal replacement drink,
Yeah,
it's like a Slim Fast, but it's beer.
So 6% ABV. Does it even have the
IBUs
on it?
Well, I think based on my expert palate, I would say the IBUs are probably like 16.4 to 16.7.
Do they even do points?
I don't know.
I don't think they do. It's out of
I have no idea. I actually don't even know where porter falls on the IBU scale. I think it's towards the lower end, but I'm not 100% sure. Don't quote me on that.
The mocha undertones of it actually taste really good.
It's really good.
Normally I don't like porters, but this is, I would give it, on the taste scale out of 10, I would give it a 7. Drinkability, first one gets like a 9. Anything after that would probably be like a 5 or a 4.
Yeah. I think the taste for me is, I think it's at least an 8. Especially comparing it to other porters. I think it's even more drinkable, and taste is up there with some of the best porters out there. So yeah, I'll go 8 on both. 8 on the taste, 8 on the drinkability. Overall really good. And for the X factor for me, it's just coming from Hawaii, it's just good vibes, man. It's just
good vibes only.
Just hang loose, like good vibes, makes me think of good times. So for that, it gets a 15 out of 10 on the X factor.
Hawaii?
Of course I've been to Hawaii.
I was gonna say.
I have been to Hawaii and did not have this beer when I was in Hawaii, but did have other Maui Brewing Company beers. And so, yeah, special place in my heart.
And with that, let's go to our interview with Steph. All right, so today on the Beer Mile podcast, we're joined by Stephanie Brown. Stephanie competed at the University of Arkansas, where she was a 10 times NCAA qualifier, an indoor champion in the DMR, and a 4-time All-American. Currently, Steph is an unsponsored pro gunning for the 2021 Olympic trials as she springs back from her recent back surgery. She's known by many names: Miss Purple Brown, Perps, Chef Perps. Steph, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I didn't know you were an Illinois native. Is that a sign up on your wall?
Yes, I painted that. I wonder if I could, hold on, let's see.
Very cool.
Yeah, so I painted that at Painting with a Twist, but I didn't follow their instructions. I just did my own thing and they were like, how are you gonna do it? I'm just gonna do it. So it turned out all right. Yeah.
It looks professional from here.
Thank you. That was perfect. I didn't even think about that coming into this, that you guys are in Chicago and
Yeah, it's all
Illinois,
staged.
so,
Yeah. Where at in Illinois did you grow up?
I'm from Central Illinois.
Central.
So it's a farm background on there. And I didn't grow up on a farm. I grew up in Downs, Illinois, near Bloomington Normal.
Okay.
But I always thought when I painted that eventually I would paint like my husband's state with like his background. But my fiance grew up in Illinois too. We met when I was in Montana and he was here in Ohio. But he actually grew up on a farm and like is a farmer at heart. So it's like, well, I guess I don't have to paint another one.
Yeah, congrats on the COVID engagement.
Thank you. Yeah, it's funny because he actually put an eye mask on me, and I almost made that my caption in the post, not the mask you're used to seeing in 2020. So, but
that's hilarious.
It was like he took you out on a running trail, or?
Yes, which is kind of a funny story, but I sound like a jerk when I tell it. So, but
by all means tell it then.
Yeah. So I came and visited him like a week before I had back surgery. I was like, it was kind of, we were talking for so long. He had recruited me to come pace Mackenzie Andrews or race her in a mile. They had home meets here at Akron because they have a great track, and they don't like to have their stars leave the home meet. So the deal was that maybe they could fly someone in. So Trey is coaching her, Brokaw, and he actually was messaging maybe 2 pro runners, and one of them was me, to come race. And I'm just like, no, I'm not running indoors. And then eventually he kept bothering me about it. I'm like, listen, I herniated a disc in my back. I'm not running at all. I don't want to talk about it anymore. So we just kept talking, and we've been talking for months. And then it was getting to where it was really a lot of time during the day spent on the phone. And I'm like, okay, I got to go visit this guy before I have back surgery, or I'm just going to be like a cripple when I meet him. And I don't want that. So I came and visited, and he took me to like a pretty cool trail. The tow path here is amazing. If you ever interviewed Clayton, he'll probably tell you about it. And so I'm running like 5 miles. I'm amped on adrenaline with him, and 7-minute pace, which I was okay with at the time, even though I was barely running. I just kind of sent it before surgery. And afterwards, he was exhausted. I mean, he was dying the whole run. And he was like, come check out this bridge. And I'm like, okay. And we're up on the bridge. I'm like, he's going to kiss me, right? Like, for sure. And I just keep like getting closer, and he's emotionally defeated. He's told me now, but he does not want anything to do with me. I'm like, this guy hates me. And so I end up like later kissing him later that night. But it always is a joke when we went there, like, oh, he should have kissed me here. So he took me back there and said he missed the one opportunity, but he doesn't want to miss anymore. And then got down on him. Yeah. So it ended up really funny and good. That was maybe too long of a story for that.
No, I like it.
I'm excited about it.
So the long and short of it is that you could probably beat him in a beer mile.
Yes, I should be doing a beer mile. I mean, maybe not right now, but just because I'm really out of shape. But I want to do one really bad. So I hope it like resurges post-COVID.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I guess we can ask that right now. One thing we wanted to ask you was if there were any plans to try one. And if you need any reasons for some concrete plans, we would definitely, if you were to hit a world record or, post a good time, we would totally give you some sort of sponsorship from beermile.com and help try to make that a little famous. Because the women's beer mile, just like the men's, if you are one of the top in the US, you'll get, a free trip internationally to the Beer Mile World Championships and all sorts of good stuff. And actually just on our last podcast episode, we just released with former world record holder Lewis Kent. He signed a deal with Brooks over beer miling. And so there's definitely opportunity.
I need to maybe do it. See, so as soon as I get semi-fit, we were like, we just need to do a time trial. Maybe the first one is a beer mile because I have no standard.
That's true.
Just see where I'm at. Yeah.
It'll be a PR no matter what. So
That's true.
Good
point.
Good place to start from.
I know. Start with a PB. You can't complain. That'd be a good way to get out there. Yeah, it's funny because I think a few pros have done it, but they always are horrible, right? Like the girls,
Right.
and like maybe it's because they don't drink beer at all. I don't really know. I gotta represent the Midwest, you know, blue collar. I could drink a beer and run a mile. Come on.
There we go. Yeah.
So
Do you think the volume, like for the 4 beers, volume would be hard for you? Or do you think that wouldn't be too bad, or would it be like the carbonation? What are you most worried about going into trying one?
I think speed of drinking the beer.
Speed of drinking.
Because they drink it really fast. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
second, right? Like,
but you're also faster for the running than a lot of the field would be. So you can make up some ground there at least.
Right. I think just pacing it right too, because you'll want to, you know, run the first lap pretty fast, is my guess. But some of my friends have done it, and like guy friends, and they'll break 6, and I'm like, they're not even in shape. Come on.
Hey,
I gotta be able to do this.
Yeah, you could be the first woman to break 6. That would be amazing.
What is the women's world record? I forget.
I think it's 6:16 currently.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think she averaged, I think all of her beers were like 10 to 15 seconds, and so that put her at like just over 5 minutes for the mile.
Okay.
For the running part of it.
All right, so I gotta get in sub 5 shape first. I'm just kidding.
But the drink
I think
is
I
also
could be
like
in that shape, but it wouldn't feel good right now, just because I've been battling some up and down injuries.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So,
well, maybe by the spring.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, right. I mean, who knows what's gonna happen? Beer mile I'm gonna put that on my list. So yeah, if I can't run as fast as I need to do, like, you know, compete at the world stage, I'll just do it in the beer mile. And there we go.
Exactly.
So speaking of the world stage, talk about at least coming off of surgery and like heading to obviously the Olympic trials that have been postponed. Right. What are your thoughts on that now?
So originally I was like, I don't know about 2020. I mean, I might not even make the trials. And I actually, since they didn't run any US championships in the last decade, I've made every championship. So I was like, this has never been on my mind, making the actual championship. And this is like a new process for me, because since freshman year, I always was there. So I'm just like, okay, well, I might not even be good enough to make it to the trials based on my recovery. And so really, honestly, that was hard to accept and to kind of let go of 2020 in a way, because my whole life had been revolved around that I would be at this perfect age for 2020, and that would be my time to like really shine. And so I just stopped thinking about it. I was like, forget it. I'm like, if I just let go of it. And then I started running actually pretty well as soon as I stopped worrying about it. And then it got postponed. So I was like, oh my gosh,
let's go.
Like they say, if you love something, you should let it go. And if it comes back, it was meant to be. But if it doesn't, it was never yours at all. That was like my quote from that I just thought, okay, it's come back to be like an option.
Yeah.
And so I was really excited, but now I've had just like way more injuries like up and down since then. And I'm not an injury prone person. So I'm still excited about 2021 trials, but I'm like, I think I need to go back to like not being too worried about it, because this whole back surgery has been like, at first it was like smooth sailing. I mean, I was so happy I got it. I got better. I got fit. And then it's just like thing after thing that comes up, and I'm going through the thick of those emotions of that injured runner type, because I was not that. So it's kind of hard. I mean, maybe later in life to start getting injuries, and then but that's kind of the story, isn't it? Like, we get old.
So how much are you able to train right now? And do you have anyone that you train with currently where you're at, or do you mostly do solo running?
So most of the quarantine was great for the first quarantine. I don't know what's going on. Quarantines were happening all the time, but the March to May one, I actually trained pretty much by myself. Yeah. And there's a couple girls around here. Mackenzie Andrews is still training under Trey, but she lives in Pittsburgh now. And then, but he trains another girl that's ran at Miami. She's a steepler, Alesha Vach, and she's pretty good. Like, we match up in some workouts, but it'll be a point in the workout that maybe I'm, speedier in some stuff, or I'm not gonna do any steepling drills, so I can't help her in that. So we match up, but we're not like perfect. So I do have also the girls on the team, and now potentially some of the guys on the team in the future. But with the fitness I'm at, it's like, do I really need anybody to help? Because I just need to get back to that fitness. So right now I'm not really worried about it as far as who I'm training with.
Got it. So mostly are you just kind of trying to build base at this point and get back into steady running?
I forgot that half of the question. I actually have like some arch thing going on in my foot. And so right now I'm just biking. I got put in a boot yesterday, and this is the first time in my life that I'm in a boot. So I'm like, seriously, this is ridiculous. But it's like one of those things that I actually hurt myself doing rehab. So I overuse injured myself during rehabs.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Like, wow, this is embarrassing. I'm at that point. But I do think the doctor was telling me that maybe because I got COVID during that time period, that just nothing recovers as fast. So I was running some during COVID and doing rehab, and that just maybe was too much. So it could have been partly, I'm going to blame COVID. I mean, who isn't?
That's fair.
How long were like the worst of the symptoms? Like, how long did they last for you?
For me, the first 3 days, I was like runny nose, and then I lost my taste and smell, and the body aches. But then losing your taste and smell is probably the most, I would say, the worst symptom. And I don't want to say that because a lot of people are like having, more body aches and hospitalized and stuff, and generally older population or underlying conditions. But for me, losing taste and smell, it was just so weird. Like, I was like getting emotional and just like, why am I even cooking dinner? Like, I can't even taste it.
I could make some bland ramen and that'd be fine.
Yeah, I was eating like cereal with a scoop of protein powder in it. It's like, this is so dumb. But I was starting to get the smell back. And here's the silver lining is I could only smell like good stuff at first. Like, I just started smelling farts again. Like, so I could not smell my fiance at all. I was like, this is like crazy. I couldn't smell anything bad. I mean, I can't smell the trash. I'm like, I mean, kind of nice, but also like if the house was on fire downstairs, I wouldn't know. It's weird. So that's the longest lasting symptom I've had.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds like there's some positives, but I was also, we were kind of talking earlier. So with the loss of like taste, could you just get yourself to like eat super healthy foods that you normally don't even like the taste of because you're not enjoying them anyway? Or were you trying to kind of overload, like you said, the cereal with protein powder, trying to actually give a lot of flavor so that you can taste a little bit of anything?
No, that was just because I was like, I don't want to cook because I can taste it, and I love cooking. I actually teared up, like, I'm never going to be able to taste again, and I love cooking. Like, this is the worst, because I'm a baby, I guess. And so I was thinking about that. I'm like, maybe I'll be able to stay fit during COVID because I can't taste. But I still found myself, like, wanting Cheez-Its and, like, like a burger. And so I was like, this doesn't make sense. Maybe I am addicted to certain things.
You had cravings then, but you still couldn't taste or smell.
Yeah, it was horrible. It was like the worst situation. But you could like taste the difference between sweet and salty, or like spicy and not. And so I was like trying to mix a lot of things like together so that I could feel the difference. Like, and using a lot of hot sauce on everything just because I was like, all right, I can kind of taste it, I think. But yeah, I don't know. I don't have good advice from COVID. I just rolled with it.
Lesson learned, just like don't get it.
Yeah. Right. And I only got it because of it. I think I got it on the plane back from seeing John Ball in Arizona, which every runner ends up seeing. And so I was like, I got COVID because I was injured from running, which it wasn't even like I was super injured. I just felt like I needed a little more knowledge on like what's going on with my back that's causing little things. So yeah, that was my whole like plan. And then I got COVID and got injured doing rehab instead.
Yeah.
So it's fine.
Speaking of baking, like how long has that been one of your interests? Has that like kind of come along with running, or have you just like always loved it before that?
Baking is, it's funny, I'm not that good at baking. Honestly, baking is just easy to share with people, like a lot, like to hit the masses. But I always loved grilling and cooking, and I don't know exactly why. I think I'm just like innately a creative person. So getting to like create and make food was always something I liked doing. I'm one of those, I don't really follow a recipe. So even though I have my chef page, half the time, honestly, I'm kind of making up the amounts and stuff because I don't. So it doesn't turn out right.
I fucking hate people. Like whenever I try and cook with my mom, like we'll always make cookies for Christmas. And I'm like, I am the worst baker ever. And I like need strict instructions to follow.
Okay, for baking, you do need strict instructions because I try to wing it on that, and I should start posting my fails, like swipe to a fail or something.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
But with cooking, I just do whatever. And so, but baking actually started maybe more in college and I guess it came along with running in some sense because I don't know. I like to bring the people that help me like cookies and stuff. So the trainers or like my doctors, I would always visit. I would always have like cookies, even to this day. So it's kind of like something that I just was able to give to people that they would appreciate, but it wasn't like, I don't know, just money. I don't know. It's something different, like it's personal, because like I find out someone's gluten-free and then I'll go out of my way to make gluten-free stuff for them, so it's just the little things like that I enjoy doing for others. So cooking is fun, but it's most fun when I get to share it. So that's why I started baking.
So hence the Instagram page for cooking.
Yeah, that just happened because I kept posting it on my story and everyone was like, okay, you just gotta they would message me like, just make a chef page, and people started calling me Chef Perps. So I was just like, all right, I'll do it.
When can we expect like a little small like purple cookbook, like signed by you, obviously delivered to us?
Actually, it's so funny. Everyone's coming out with a cookbook, so it's like really unoriginal. But I think what makes me different is that I still am making indulgent food, and I'm trying to show that like you can be fit and fast, and you don't have to like, I don't know, eat a bunch of veggies in every aspect. Like I do love veggies and I love all that stuff, but I try to make a good decision in a delicious meal, like throwing in, I don't know, turkey sausage instead of regular sausage. I'm not going to tell you to make turkey bacon because it's gross, but turkey sausage is good. So I try to make it good. Cookbook, I maybe will need to work on. I could probably put one together with my page right now.
Yeah.
But I haven't ever been too like forward on that. I just share because people asked me to. So if you want one, I could, just for you guys.
Or be a custom deal. Okay.
Custom.
Yeah. Custom cookbook for the Beer Mile podcast.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. So how much, I guess, has this evolved over time, your sense of like diet and not being overly strict on it? I mean, that's definitely like a big question amongst runners and especially like pro athletes too. How strict, I guess, have you been throughout? Has that something you've become more lax on over time? And, or have you, always had that kind of that approach of, balancing it with having some things that taste good and maybe aren't the healthiest, but also still making sure you're eating healthy?
Yeah. So I don't know, maybe it's just the way I was brought up was that it's just not, what's right and you don't know what's wrong, So like, if you're full, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you just stop eating. But I am more of a I probably eat healthy the first 2/3 of the day, and then dinner. I mean, I eat healthy, but I don't feel restrictive, and I love ice cream so much. So it's just like one of those things that I just never get too weird about. But I will say, like, body image for running is like a tough topic, like we run in bikinis. Like, I mean,
Right.
Who doesn't want to look a certain way when you're going to be on TV in a bikini? And to say that I don't think about that is just a bold-faced lie. And so when it comes to like racing season, I think without overly thinking about it, I just naturally start to cut the crap, because like, not only do I feel better in workouts, like I feel better with how I look. And I know that you don't need to be in a certain box to be fast, because I've never I never thought about that when I was younger. I never thought about that in the first couple years of college. Like, it was not a thing, but it's a huge thing now, especially with social media and all this stuff. Yeah. But I would say like body confidence is like a really tough issue, and I don't have the answers, and I'm not going to pretend I do, because I still think I struggle with that personally. Right. And I think everyone wants to have that answer, especially as a female runner. And they're like, oh, I don't think about that. But like, I got to tell you, like, most of them are. And I think most of the people that I come in contact with do. And it's a struggle across the board. And I think social media is making it worse and not better. Even though you are seeing body confidence, there's also like editing of photos. There's just the exposure to the way the fast people look in their life. You get this inside lens, whereas when I was in high school, you didn't know anything about that. Like, I didn't even understand like weight issues. I think the first time I was told that I should try to lose some weight, I asked why, because I was like, what do you mean?
Right.
I look good. I'm running fast. What are you talking about? And they're like,
I think it's also different on the track. Like, you mentioned Instagram, like with still photos, you can always edit it. But like when you're on the track running, you don't have a lot of mental or physical energy you can dedicate to like looking very good. Like you're probably gonna look as worse as you probably can.
Yeah, true.
So
it's like, are you in the air or are you landing? I don't know. Like, you can't. Yeah. But it's hard because. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, have you had coaches over time that have kind of pushed the diet issue? I know I've heard. So neither of us. I guess Adam kind of ran D1 for a season, but we didn't really have that experience, running D1 or post collegiately. But I know from some that have that's some programs, especially, they really push the diet issue and being as light as possible, et cetera, and like they're really strict on that. I'm curious if you've had any of that throughout your career, or if it's mostly something that you've just kind of, dealt with on your own.
Okay. So this is always a hard answer I think, especially since like, there's like, it's such a negative, right? So it's so negative that like being fit, the word fitness and the word like lean, it's just like seen as this evil term, but like there is a level of like, you do feel better when you hit that sweet spot, right? Like everybody knows that, like when you're out of shape, you get bigger. I mean, it's just not everybody, but in general. So I think we did think about that, but being like as skinny as possible was not seen as a positive for like my team, but being fit was seen as like where you want to be. And then when you weren't, you felt maybe more inadequate, and that maybe that's like self inflicted. Maybe sometimes it came out the wrong way, but I would say like it was a part of like my life and running. especially in college somewhat, because I am probably a more muscular gal altogether. But when I get fit, I look like my abs just look a certain way because of the way I was born. And so like when that's what everyone's accustomed to, then when I don't look exactly like that, then in their minds, like I'm not ready to run as fast as I was. Whereas even though I would say that's not necessarily true, like I ran so fast as a freshman who hadn't lost any weight. I ran 2:05.0 and I ran, and then I lost some weight just like through training and like thinking about like portion control, and it was super healthy. Like the way I was back, then I always like ate dessert. Whatever. Anyway, so it was a healthy thing that I lost like 5 pounds, like because I could lose it back then, and it wasn't like anyone saw me as, I really didn't even really look very much different, but I ran the same time the whole year. Like I maybe ran 2:04 high in outdoor season, but it was a lot of 2:05s, and I was like 5 to 7 pounds less, but like I still ran just as fast. So I think like, but then eventually that body image gets like kind of clicked into, I think, some coach's mind that's like what means fast. Like fitness and leanness means you're ready to go. But to their truth, I would say I am a runner, where he's like, you could like look at me and say, and you can tell if I'm fit or not. Like I don't look the same right now as I did in 2018, like because I'm not in that shape. Like right. I thought I was ready to break forward. Like I'm not in that position, so I don't look like that. But I've had like really positive people around me that have always kept it in check. But I would say it's a battle for a lot of college women and pro women, whether they had a coach that was like that or not, just because of the mentality of it. I don't know if that helps answer that question.
No, that does. Yeah, I've just kind of heard of all extreme cases of like having athletes log every single thing they're eating, and the coach has to like approve of what they're eating.
No, we didn't do that. That's never been. No, I could order a Dr. Pepper in front of my college coach, and nothing would happen. Okay, like But unless I was like severely out of shape, then maybe he'd be like, hey, you want to make a better choice,
right?
But it wasn't ever like, still more. I mean, if I'm fast and running, if I'm running fast and I'm fit, like hands off, like we didn't have, you could see a nutritionist if you wanted, but it's not, I wasn't babysat, that's for sure.
Yeah. So if you're like running 2:04 lows, you can like drink beer and have a glass of wine during the season.
Okay, here's the thing. I always have beer and a glass of wine during season. I don't know, like everyone's a little different, like cutting alcohol. I found out that that's a pretty big thing across groups. Like they have like a cut period. Yeah. See, I didn't know that because I only was in a group for a month, but otherwise I've just been on my own, and my lucky meal the day before a race is a Corona and a burger. And that is like the meal, if I can have that, I can chill. I'm good. The hay's in the barn. One beer is not going to hurt.
Yeah. Nope. So. Well, we definitely agree with that. So clearly.
You guys must have saw an interview of me before. That's why I'm on this podcast.
Yeah. No, that's hilarious. Yeah. It seems like a wide range. Like some professionals will never drink. Some, like we talked to Nick Simmons, and he was like, same thing, beer the night before a race always, because he just felt like it relaxed him, calmed the nerves, and he just likes beer. So yeah.
I think it's also like for every athlete, it's a control mechanism. So I'm controlling that I'm like laid back and I'm not worried about it. And for another athlete who's a little more type A, like they control that they did everything right. So like, I think that what's behind it isn't right or wrong on either aspect. Like, so I think that's like what gets misconstrued. Someone that's really like meticulous in this, way, they're seen as the crazy runner, but it's like, I'm doing the same thing and controlling my choices and saying I want a Corona before a race. so that I know that I've relaxed and that I'm mentally chill. And that's what's going to help me when I get on that line. Whereas for someone who doesn't, and they're like in cut period, if they choose to have a beer with me, they're going to get on that line maybe a little mentally messed up. Like I didn't, or look back if they don't have a good race and think I didn't do everything right. That was a mistake. This was a mistake. So I think it's a control mechanism on each end of the spectrum. It's just like anorexia versus like obesity. Really, they say it's the same disease. So I think we're seeing the same thing, but we're putting people in this box where it's like it's the same. Everybody's doing the most to be their best on that line. So
yeah.
I think it just is what it is.
That's good insight. Let's go back to, I guess, coming out of college running, your transition to, professional running, and then navigating that world, and then how you've continued on without a sponsorship, but still continuing to try to run at the highest level. If you could walk us through a little bit of that, I'm sure we'll have some follow-up questions as well.
Okay. Out of college, I stayed at Arkansas, and transition was squeaky clean in that regards. I don't know that I did super well at like getting a great contract, honestly. I think I kind of just got my Nike contract because of my coach. I didn't have an agent. I don't know. When I look back, that was a horrible choice. Like, I wish I would have known a little bit better, like my own worth coming out of college, or at least seeked it out better. So I got my contract and it was fine. I mean, I ran fast my first year. I went from 4:11 to 4:07. And I think I ran 2:02 again. I don't know. And I ran pretty fast in the K. So I was running well, competing well. And then after a while, I felt like I wanted to train with someone that was better than me. So that's how I ended up going to Big Bear Track Club. That didn't work out. That was actually honestly like the biggest mess ever. So that was hard. Like I, continued running, but it was like I lost my Nike contract after I made trials final and everything. And it was just hard because I didn't do anything wrong and I wasn't running bad. So I just was like, and they weren't even paying me that much. So I was like, seriously, like, I don't,
it was more like,
I felt,
do you think it was more
I felt
like a business aspect that you weren't really interested? You were interested in like competing and like out winning races, and you just like didn't focus enough, or like didn't have somebody to focus on the contract for you?
Yeah. So I still didn't have, I only got an agent like a couple months before my contract was up. So I didn't even if they would have re-signed me, like none of my money would have went to her or her company. So just my race money would have, but my percentage, that's how it works. So I would say they just there was no point for Nike to keep Stephanie, and not to be everyone wants to hate Nike, hate this, hate that. I mean, I do think it's kind of crap, some of the contracts I've heard from them, and some of it is crap, but I think every company kind of has some crap. So I think that they had a good relationship with my coach in Arkansas, and me leaving was this under impression I would be under him, even though it said that nowhere in my contract. So I think that's kind of what happened. Honestly, I don't really know, because I don't work behind the scene or whatever. I honestly don't know why. So
yeah,
I wasn't really told ever why I lost my contract. So
got it.
And then I ended up going to Montana, and I got hurt immediately. So I lost my contract, and then when I was just super motivated, I knew I was gonna lose it, and I actually I just ran on some ice in this turkey trot, and I ended up tearing part of my FDL, which is your tendon that connects to your all your small toes. So, and then goes up in your calf. So my shin hurt, basically. And that took a while to figure out and to navigate. And I don't know, like, I probably wasn't in the best, like, mental attitude towards it. So I think it took even longer for it to heal. But it did. And I ended up running really, really well in 2018. And I didn't, end up getting that contract. So like 2018 was like a great whirlwind, because I had actually like stopped caring about the contract situation. And so I just started to like beat people and like win. Yeah. And I was doing like a great job, and it was like so fun. And then
in 2018 was 2018 or 2019 the Portland Invitational?
2018 was, yeah.
Yeah, because that was the biggest track article of like Stephanie Brown destroys everybody and she's unsponsored and
yeah, which was a real bummer that nothing happened. Like I would have thought something would have happened right after that, but especially since it was like 40 degrees and raining that day, and I just like felt like I had so much more, and the people I was beating, and like, good on them. They all were signed, like they all deserve that contract for sure. And but they also like ran other like bigger races that led to like faster times. So I was like, man, I like wish I was in this race and that race. So then I could have a faster time, but that didn't work out for me. A lot of my races I was in ended up being tactical. I mean, I ran my 800 PR at the end of a 1500 in one of my races. So I thought I was really ready to go. Yeah. But so it was just like this weird thing where I ran well, and then the contract did get in my mind. And I think that was probably the worst thing that happened, was that I was so worried about it, because I didn't get signed, and I kept thinking maybe I would, but it honestly, like, I resented running for the first time in my life when I wasn't injured. So I was very upset with the sport. I was just like so sad. I would like stop and walk and runs. Like, it was a couple months of just like really a pity party. So it's kind of embarrassing, even in a way, when I think back to it now, because I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I was so full of myself. Like, running is so small, and I felt bad for myself. And I think a lot of that was because so many people were asking me every single day, like every person wanted to know because they cared. And I didn't see that as like a positive. It just was like weighing me down. And so after that was how I ended up like training like a psychomaniac, and hurting my back. So I think like the whole progression is very telling of like, I, rise, and then I fell because of my rise without like what I thought was supposed to happen. I think like if I would have just not cared again about the contract, it could have just carried on and maybe not injured my back, but that's not what happened. So lesson learned. You're not signed, don't worry about it.
Yeah, exactly. So through the roller coaster of everything that happened in your pro career, was there ever a time where you like truly considered like, I just don't want to run anymore, and like you truly considered stopping? Or what did you kind of still, even though it was tough, did you still always know that you wanted to continue running, kind of regardless of the things out of your control, like something like a contract or the little injuries and downs?
Yeah. So the original injury, where it took me a while in Montana to figure out, like, coming back from that, I felt like was this like grand resurgence of like, my running. And I always knew I wanted to compete. There is a time frame. There is an expiration date. So that's kind of like my favorite thing about it, is like, I'm not going to be running after I'm 35. So don't worry. Like, don't worry. It's not me. Like, I'm not going to be moving up to the marathon, So there is like this end where like, I know that that's a ceiling. So I was always like, I think a lot of the ups and downs originally really made me realize how much I love just the act of running. Cause I would trade my career. I would trade up competitive running right now if I had a guarantee that I could just like run healthy the rest of my life and just like go out for runs and enjoy it. I would give up running hard. There's no like genie that tells you that that's your options, you know?
Right,
So
right.
I don't have that, but I would tell you right now that that would be what I would choose. There were times where I just thought, like, during my back injury, because I didn't run for 8 months. Well, I didn't run for 6, and then I ran for a month. I had surgery, and then I didn't run for 2. So when I said I sent it before surgery, it was just like a month of like, I'm gonna have surgery. Who cares? You know, this hurts all the time. So, but during that was pretty deep times in my life of just like, maybe I'm never gonna be a runner again. Maybe I'm done. You know, like I really like didn't know how it was gonna go. So, people really helped though. Like I was searching Instagram about micro discs. No one would respond to me, but I ended up reaching out to Nate Brannon, who ran for Canada, but he had the back surgery. He was open about it. So he lives in Cleveland, which is kind of funny. So I've actually stayed in like decent contact with him, and he's just been so supportive of like what's going on with like what he went through and all the injuries that came after his back surgery and how he mentally got through everything. So even now, just going through these ups and downs really gives me like those little thoughts that creep in, like, am I doing the right thing? Should I be
Right.
my energy somewhere else? This is like, I don't make any money. I'm just like, am I one of those people, you know? Like, am I turning into that? But I did get really fit during quarantine. So it's like, I do know that there is like, I can get fit, and it takes me like 2 months to like get to where I think I could run a 4:35 mile. So it's like, in best circumstance, you know, but like, if I could just get healthy, that maybe that's still a choice. And I will have a better story if I do make that comeback and be able to help more people in the long run. So there is like, I'm already just sharing about my microdisc. I get a message still to this day, like once a week, of an athlete that's going to have surgery and they're scared, and they message me on Instagram, and I'm the only person that responds to them. And I'm just like, wow, like even a lady who has like this big brand called Buddha Pants, like reached out to me and sent me all these pants, and it was really cool, like, because I was not wanting, you know, her to do it. She didn't have to do that, but I was one of the people that like actually like connected and was open. So I've kind of used my platform in some ways for good with the surgery and reached more people than I did running whatever time at Portland Track.
Yeah,
there's positives.
Definitely. And maybe all of these setbacks will just make you that much more motivated as well once you are back to training. It seems like, I mean, I know that's true for me. When I'm injured, I'm so much more motivated back than if you're just kind of in a, you know, the monotonous training for years and years and years. So maybe there'll be a bright side to that.
It is weird when you come back from an injury, right? Like you like the bad days, you know?
I miss these.
So I'm running really slow, but like I just love running, you know? It's just like it's like this dumb emotional roller coaster, and everyone's like, you're kind of crazy. I don't like running to the fridge, you know? Like, and so there is that level of like the excitement of coming back. I've actually like sort of documented the entire progression. I have not done anything with the videos, but I've videotaped myself almost through everything. I've been pretty bad the last few months, and but there's some, I think maybe when I first moved here a year ago, I have a couple from then, and there's videos of me running workouts during quarantine, but I videoed my feelings of like this whole back surgery thing the whole time. So maybe one day if there is like the like grand finale and I make a team or something, I'm gonna like put it all together and be like, you can do it.
Yeah, people would definitely love to see that. I think that would get a lot of viewers that would really connect with it.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting because there's some pretty bad videos of me like crying and, you know, being like, my back hurts. I walked 4 miles, and it's, you know, it's just like, I was just pretty honest in it. So we'll see if I ever put it together and if I don't break this phone. Yeah.
One other question I thought of related to the, running as a career. How did like a typical day in your life change from when you were under the sponsorship with Nike versus then after the fact? I'm assuming you had to, have another job and earn income in a different way. So how did your life change and lifestyle change from being sponsored to taking on running as your own endeavor?
Yeah, well, actually, so yeah, I lost my sponsorship and I had like good support at first, and I didn't do anything at first when I was injured either. So I was just like existing. But then I started working in 2018. Before, I was working at a wine and spirit shop in Montana. So I did have like more time prioritizing to do from when I wasn't doing anything, but honestly, it was getting pretty boring doing nothing. So outside of running, like it's nice to have like some job, but it is like taxing over time because living in Montana was so expensive that I ended up having to like take on more hours and work full time at that store that I was at, which that was after my season. So during season, my boss was at one point the vice president of the NCAA. So, and his wife was like Team USA handball Olympian and multi-athlete at Washington State. So like, and he was a football player at Georgia and then also like lived in Arkansas for a while. So it was like this really weird mixture of like perfectness and like a weird job, like, but they understood. We're like, yeah, go compete. So they let me go whenever. I mean, I'd be gone for 3 weeks sometimes. But that season was like, I had to pretty much make it or I didn't pay the bills, like, and so I made a lot of money. I made more than I ever made with my contract in 18.
Okay.
Just races. I think I made 29 grand that summer. Like, so I can just say it.
Yeah.
I think it was like, I made a lot that summer. And a lot due to my agent did get me in good races, so I did make money from those. I would have made more if they would have done the testosterone like thing, because I did race the gold, silver, and bronze medalist of the 2016 Olympic 800 women. So I did lose some money in that regards, like technically, but and then what changed though after was that I was, without the sponsorship, I think my mentality was I need to work harder, and I also had to work more after my season because a lot of my money went back into racing, right? So even though I made that money, I didn't have the funds to go everywhere, even though some meets fund you and some don't. You have to pay for certain things. Like Portland, I paid to go there. I've just made my money back from the race. Like that's like all that happened. So it's a give and take, but in the end, I think what's been interesting is after surgery as more when I've like had to rethink of like, am I worried about making money or am I worried about training? Because if I would go stand on my feet all the day at a running store after back surgery or at the liquor store, I just felt horrible. Like I couldn't heal, I couldn't train. So it was like, I'm not even in a real job here. I either need to quit or I need to back off and like live kind of, more poor in a way. So it's like, what am I doing? And so navigating that, I have a great setup here now, and I work at a gym that really supports me. And so it's just like, it's kind of one of those things that it all like took a while to figure out. But if you want to do it, if you want to do something, you just have to like make the sacrifices, and there'll be like ups and downs, and eventually you'll figure it out, like, and not having a bunch of extra spending money is not the end of the world. Like, and there's a expiration date. So don't worry. Yeah.
Like going forward, I feel like part of your source of validation is like this contract, no contract. Going forward from now, do you feel like that's shifted more like internal or like just focused on race outcomes? Like, what are you thinking headed into the future?
Yeah, what's interesting is like, I think it goes in waves. Like, I didn't worry about the contract until it was actually a possibility to have it. And I raced really well when I was just racing, right? So, and worried about winning. So, I want to run for someone, right? But like, I'm going to go try to beat everybody, whether there's something on my chest or not. And that's like, my value is going to be in beating my competitors. And whether they're signed or not doesn't matter to me. Like, I just want to race and win and get back to that because it's so fun. It's so great, you know?
Yeah.
And I can wear whatever I want, I guess, without being signed. So, you know, I always have the interesting race kits.
Yeah. Well, if you do that beer mile and do really well, maybe you can wear some beermile.com and beer mile podcast.
Yeah, right. I'll make it happen. I mean, we can do anything. It's awesome. Yeah. So I value, I would love to be sponsored, right? But like, I don't even know like what's going to happen, you know, if next week we all might be back in quarantine. Like, exactly. We don't know what's going to happen. And I don't think like I have to be defined by that. And if a lot of people, it would really stink if a lot of these runners lose their sponsorship because of this, you know, COVID stuff. But I think that a lot of them hopefully will feel like value as a pro athlete still, without a name brand on their chest. Cause I think that is a hard, thing to overcome originally. Like, I don't know why, it just is, you know, it's hard to feel like I tell people I'm a pro runner, but they're like, who do you run for? And I'm like,
it's like that one movie with
whatever race is going on. Yeah.
Talladega Nights, where you just have like the bee and a tiger on the race car.
Yep, I like it.
We'll throw that up in the background.
Yeah, well, you know, what am I running for this week? The beer of the week.
Yeah, there we go.
So one more question before we jump into some of the
final
closing stuff. You might have already answered this, but would you rather get a sponsorship or compete unsponsored, knowing that somehow, some way, like all your bills are still going to be paid for? You just don't have like the name brand and maybe like a few extra bucks.
Ooh, I would say that there's like value on both sides of it, like not being sponsored and like kind of having your, you know, no ties to anything is great, but also like feeling like you can help a brand and maybe be a part of something more and reaching more people that way. I think that there's give and take on both sides. And for me, if I was able to just compete, I would be good with either side.
Love it.
That's a good answer.
That is a good answer. So we'll go into two final segments then, cautious of time. So the first one is a newer segment that we call the spicy question of the week. And so
I can take this one, right?
So Adam's going to take this one, but basically the segment is Adam's going to ask a spicy question, a little edgy, controversial potentially, but it won't be too bad, I promise. But in order to ask the question, he has to finish his drink to earn that right to ask the guest the question. So,
okay.
So, and if you don't want to answer it, we're going to ask it and then we're just going to cut the response.
Exactly. There we go. All
right, ready, go.
You can do it.
There we go.
Okay. Boom. Spicy question of the week. Oh, wow. That was fuzzy. So the spicy question is, what the hell happened at the Big Bear Track Club?
Oh man. One day, once upon a time, I'll tell you, I was running and I did a workout and we picked up my Nike gear from their parents' house down the hill and we got to the top and everyone stood around. Brenda went inside. Carlos came out, said that she hadn't been running well. As we know, they had fought at the track for an hour We all were hanging out there, and then turned to me and said I was the reason why and that I'm off the team. And I had just moved. My heart is like racing. I hate like this story. I just moved across the country, and so I was kicked off the team. And yeah, that was what happened. And at the time I was, dating. I wasn't even dating. I had just started dating one of the runners on the team who wasn't kicked off, but then quit the team. So
yeah, Christian also left like a month later or something like that.
It was like 2 weeks or a week and a half, like thinking about it.
Yeah.
I tried to talk to them, and I knocked on their door to like figure it out, and they were in their house and like wouldn't answer the door or talk to me. And so I've never talked to Brenda since.
That's so weird.
Yeah, they had been recruiting me to be there for like a year and a half since I graduated college. So it was like this weird. So I wanted to go train with Brenda because I trained with Kristen Worth Thomas before. So I was really excited to like go and like have someone better than me. Turns out like I was maybe like one rep off of being as good as Brenda as far as like workouts. Like I really probably worked out better than I ever raced. Turns out I was the 20th person kicked off the team. They kicked off. People were kicked off the week I got there, which was a month before. Like there were people being kicked off when I was there. Someone was kicked off and reinstated. And then a lot of the people that were there after me, they ended up getting kicked off too. We had a group of us that were all kicked off and in the area, and we ended up working out together, which is like kind of the coolest thing. Yeah, in the end, there was like a group of people that were kicked off by Big Bear Track Club that ended up training together and band together, and were some of the best relationships. Like I still talk to some of them to this day. So yeah, I don't know. It's just like bizarre. The whole situation.
How big is the club now? It's like 5 people, right? Like it's tiny.
No, it's Brenda.
That's the intro to the video.
It's just her.
Wow.
Yeah, so I had a dream though. I don't know, after this is like part of the thing, like to be a good, I forgive them. Like I don't know what's going on in their life. I don't know if it's good or bad. I don't really know, but I had a dream one day that I was sitting with Brenda on like a porch, and she looked at me and she said, "Steph," and I said, "I know, don't worry about it. I forgive you." And so I think like, I don't know what's going on in their life. I just know that I was dropped, and maybe I was a threat. Maybe I have no idea. So I know what happened, but I don't, because I never got to speak to them about it.
Weird.
I don't know.
Yeah. Stuff happening over there.
There's like the backstory of this like goes further, is like I had been living with them like in their house. So
okay.
One time they were both gone into me, and they love their animals. Like she has 3 dogs and a cat. And so I was pretty thankful, and like I was having a hard time moving from Arkansas. Like I cried my whole drive over there. Like it was weird. Like I was just like, that was my first part of my life, as an adult. Yeah. So moving there was tough, and I was just like going through a lot. So, but they've been like pretty nice, and I hung out with the group more than her, but she's like honestly a little bit intimidating. So, and like Carlos is kind of intimidating. So it's just like kind of an intimidating environment. But I was really like thankful for like just the opportunity and running with them, and like I was excited to train with Brenda more. And so I made this like board. I got like kind of like that wood, and it was like an old fence post that had a hole in it, which was really cool. And I sanded it, and I paw printed all their dogs and put names under it. And then I left, and I wrote mom and dad, and I left space for their hands and the paint. And I wrote them a card and said, and so Brenda had texted me, and she was like, "Thank you so much for this. Like, we really appreciate you. You're such a good teammate. And this is a Tuesday, and I got kicked off on Thursday, like of the same week. Yeah. So the day after,
I'd be so upset if I
wasn't living with them anymore in the day, because that room opened up in the house and I was staying there. And then the day after, we were going to drive down to go to do some treatment. And so like some of us were like there and outside their house waiting, because like we would all get in the van and go down, and we heard them screaming at each other from outside, and it was just like insane. And we were like, yikes, this is awkward. So this is Wednesday, and then Thursday we had a workout, and on the workout I was doing 400 repeats at 800 pace with 4 minutes rest, and it was probably one of the best workouts of my life. Like I ran sub 60 on all of them, and I ran 5. And Boris was doing the same workout as me, but of course, like way faster. And then Brenda was doing a pre-meet. So she had to run a 400, and Carlos said run 58. And so she went and ran, and it wasn't with me, but she ran like 60. And he said, he just blew up at her and said, "What the fuck was that, Brenda? When I say run 58, you run 58. And she was like, I don't like, she usually never would say anything, like if they were like kind of bickering, but she was just like, I don't need your negativity, like blah, blah, blah. He's like, you're going to run it again. And like all this stuff. And she's like, dude, you're the one who was yelling at me yesterday and like this and that. And I don't even know like what they were talking about. We knew they were fighting the day before. And so I'm like, hey, I'm running, 400s at like 59. So, and I'm like running 29:30 on all of them. I was like, hey, if you want, I'll go out a little. I like just walked up to her. I was like, if you want, I'll go out a little, because he was like, you're running it again. I was like, I'll go out a little faster and you can pass me and run. Like, I'll help. And I had offered to pace her race that weekend too, which was like the great, I don't know. So anyways, then all of a sudden, like, he was like, no, she's not getting your help. She's doing it like on her own. Like, and so then she doesn't end up running anything else. They went to the other side of the track, and I finished my workout. It was like, I did awesome, right? So I'm like, it was like the first good workout in Big Bear too. I was like, sweet. I'm like in the groove. Like I'm getting used to this. Like I'd been there for a month. So it was about time when you start feeling like yourself. And they just fought, and then we did like a cool down, and then we just sat there, and then Brenda was going to do a cool down, and we went and got lunch, and we came back and picked her up, and it was just silent. And we went and picked up my Nike gear, went up the mountain, and that's when they kicked me out. So I don't know. That was like legitimately, that was really what happened. I think they, in the end, said that it was because I was dating Christian, which they were pushing on me, which was like so frustrating, because like then that all happened, that like everyone was like, you moved there and like did all this stuff and started like, you guys were here for this. And it was like, dude, they didn't even kick him off. Like I was like, they kicked me off. Like, I was like, and they kept like, they were like, you guys should go out, like blah blah. And I was like, even
more of a wild ride and wild story on top of what you've been through.
Yeah, I don't know. Brenda's whole thing, I have no idea. I was upset about New Balance sponsoring that group like after it, but I think it's pretty much dissipated. Like no one's there. All the people that were running, they like exile you, right? So like I didn't even talk to the girls that I was friends with anymore until later. And then like they Instagram messaged me or text me and were like, it happened to me too. They've kicked me off now. So
it sounds like a cult. Like they're like,
oh yeah, it was weird.
You. That's crazy.
I hope that their relationship, I fear for them like the future of like, because running ends, running doesn't matter,
right.
It's like this small period of time you're going to be a runner, and then from then like you have a lot of other life to live. So hopefully that there's been some resolve for their future. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I think they have a lot of their own problems and then just try to push it on someone else. So then she ended up running pretty well that weekend. And in the interview, she was like, we got rid of some of the negativity. And I was like, what?
Watching this
Oh
interview,
my
just
God.
like, fuck you.
It was me.
That's
You should,
crazy.
yeah,
But on Tuesday, I was a good teammate. So I don't know.
change your Instagram handle to the negative energy or something.
Well, the funny thing is, like, this would be that back then, like the group that they were like, I just say things that are true. Like, I try to be really honest and like forthcoming. So, like, even just saying like, yeah, I, deal with body image issues, and so does everybody. So sorry, like, I'm not gonna make some crap that I'm like perfect or like I got it all worked out, right, or like I'm not worried about getting sponsored. Like, I do think about those things. So, but everyone's like, you need to be the real Steph Brown. Like, they're like, you need to make a separate account for all your real thoughts and call it the real Steph. That's probably
that's true. I mean, without any shoe sponsor kind of putting a muzzle on you, I mean, you can voice your opinion.
I don't even know that people aren't in that big of a muzzle with their sponsorships. I think that this is all getting into this bad rap of like sponsorships, and I feel kind of bad, like, especially like the pregnancy thing. Like, I feel bad, like, but I mean, it's your job to compete. So like, if you don't compete, you don't, like, if someone just didn't show up to work, like,
right,
you're gonna, get fired. I don't know. So like, there is a level of like, you're in a rock and a hard place for both the athlete and the sponsorship.
Just some closing questions. It's a segment we called The Last Gulp. Basically just rapid fire questions. You can answer it with one word if you want. If you want to give it a sentence or two, feel free, but it should be pretty quick.
Okay.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
I'll kick off. Favorite alcoholic beverage?
Wine or beer. I don't know. Both of them are good.
Well, what type of beer?
Of beer. I like stouts and light beers the best.
Okay.
That's opposite.
Very opposite things.
Very opposite, but
you're putting too much thought into these questions.
Okay, I like cream ales and coffee stouts and Pinot Noir.
Okay. I like it.
Here's a degenerate question. How many holes does a straw have?
Oh, is it one or two? Oh, one.
One.
She answered it right.
Oh, so one.
All right, there you go.
Okay. That's great. If for the 2021 Olympic trials, if you could pick the event you want to be in, your favorite event, what would you pick?
I would pick the 800.
800? Cool. Wasn't sure.
I'm a 1500 runner, but I get to run both now.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
If you could be a pro in any other sport, what would it be?
Football. No, yeah. Just because, well, then I had to be a guy. So probably soccer. Yeah. I'm a lose.
American women's team is hype, so.
Yeah, right.
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
No.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I mean,
please stop.
But kind of.
That's good. I'm glad you had a strong opinion on that. That's good. That's good.
All right, you're sitting down for Thanksgiving dinner. Are you going to eat white or dark meat?
Ham.
Ham.
Oh, you're
okay.
All right. Okay. I like that answer. That's a good answer.
Good. How do you like your coffee?
Black. Ice. Cold brew. Boom.
Nice.
Yeah, good answer. Nice. Favorite social media platform?
Probably Instagram. Yeah. YouTube for like entertainment. Instagram for creating photos and content. Yeah.
Yeah. You have one day left to live and money isn't an object. How do you want to spend your last day?
With Trey, for sure. And I don't really care what we're doing because he'll just make me laugh. Like I would like to be maybe on a beach or somewhere warm, like maybe on a boat, lake, warm, hanging out with him. Yeah.
Love it. Yeah.
Last question, favorite genre of music?
Rock and roll.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Is this like current rock and roll, classic rock?
Classic rock.
Classic rock.
I actually have rock and roll tattooed on me. That's my dad's phrase. He yells rock and roll at me when I'm racing. And so I have rock and roll on me. But I love classic rock. It's so hype.
Yeah.
But then country is my second. But no one ever thinks I'm a country gal. But
I thought that was going to be your answer.
yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's pretty. That makes me feel good that I I like country. Yeah.
Awesome. Anything else that you want to plug or say before we close off?
Like, not really. Just
We'll put
run.
Socials.
Have fun.
Yeah.
Don't herniate your disc. Yeah.
That's good advice.
Pro advice.
Pro advice. Thanks for joining us and taking the time. It was great to learn more about you, and we enjoyed the
Yeah, thanks for having me. Am I the first girl?
Yes, you are. Woo! Yes, we have the second girl. Actually, we're going to record later today. We're going to record with Carissa Schweitzer as well. So.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
All right, I gotta go talk about Jesus. So I need it now after this.
All right, thanks again, and have a great rest of the weekend.
Yeah, best of luck.
You guys too. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
And that wraps up our interview with Stephanie Brown. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please feel free to drop a like and a subscribe and a comment and share it with your friends, share it with your dogs, listen to it on multiple devices, stream it all day, every day. Help us grow the podcast. We really appreciate it. Also, make sure you follow Stephanie Brown on Instagram. Follow her cooking page, Chef Perps, as well. And we also have a link in the description if you would like to help support Stephanie Brown and her journey to the 2021 Olympics as an unsponsored athlete. You can donate to her there and help support her in pursuing her dreams of making an Olympic team. Thanks for tuning in. Stay safe, have fun, stay true, drink a brew.
My freshman year, I accidentally said, like, someone was asking me what, it was like at nationals afterwards, what I wanted to do. I'm like, I'm so ready to slam some Dr. Pepper. And then I watch it like now, and I'm like, why did I say that?
At least you could say like, oh, I'd really like a beer, and you were like 20 at the time.
I didn't drink till my first sip of alcohol, I was 20 and a half. So I almost like made it. I barely had anything. Yeah, but no one would have thought that about me for sure, because I'm just like, I was always at the party. I just wasn't drinking at the party.
That's good. Well, it's good that you can have fun without having to drink. I like that.
Yeah.